Well, good evening. It's been a while since I decided to make another video. Um, well, I think that what's going on now is worth at least talking about a little bit. It's having to do with the protest over, at least what I can grasp is the out of control police state. Well, there's a lot of things to be said about it. I think the foremost thing that can be said of it is its inherent racism. Inherent racism. Um, you could um, argue whether or not racism has to be intentional, but I think it's inherent when there is a way of doing things if the person is a certain color, or if they're a minority, there is a protocol to happen. Well, so I want to talk about a series of shootings first. Um, Darren Wilson. We talk about the shooting that happened between Darren Wilson and Mike Brown first. Um, I think I set back a while so I could actually properly analyze this from where I was sitting, because I'm a person who wasn't there. I'm a person who, am like a lot of the people who show a lot of support for Darren Wilson, or show a lot of support for Mike Brown, who joins lists of people to say we were not there. That being said, there's a lot of inconsistencies in this case. Um, the first inconsistency that came about that I thought was really telling was that of the reporting by the news agencies, and it's all the news agencies. The CNN, you have CNN displaying photos of Mike Brown that a lot of people said, okay, well, oh, they're showing Mike Brown to be this kind of this angel. Well, you have CNN turning around when a surveillance video that was in a convenience store of a guy that was supposedly robbed by, or strong arm robbery by Mike Brown, supposedly. At least this is what at least this is what the media wants you to believe. But I would contend, if you were to just look at the evidence that of the preponderance of evidence surrounding that, that would be the video itself and the footage of Mike Brown laying deceased in the street. There's a lot of inconsistencies there, because the first thing you notice when you when you evaluate that, so you gotta evaluate what's said. Um, when Darren Wilson first came to the scene of that crime, well, the scene, when he approached Mr. Brown and his friend, Darren Wilson admitted to the public that he knew nothing about a robbery. Yet, when he made later statements, he said that he saw the cigarillos in the hand of Mike Brown. Okay, the other inconsistencies would be surrounded by what is said and what is admittedly not seen by the witnesses that were there. Every witness that was for Mike Brown's side um, was under scrutiny, because they were seen as people who were wanting to get their moment of fame. And from what tell you a little bit about myself, my background. Um, I've been through. I think I spent a total of 3+ years training in criminal justice. I spent 10 years in the military where I was deployed. I know about incident reporting. I know the importance of timeliness in filing incidents reporting, um, because things happen, traumatic thing happens. They happen so fast, and your brain will automatically wants to change the events. Shots fired. Let's talk about the shots fired. You were lacking the evidence of the pistol, how many rounds were fired. The focus was granted on the rounds that they pulled out of Mike Brown's body, which is, really messed up when you hear things like he had his back turned, the officer was shooting, but you can turn around and say, okay, well, we don't know if the rounds hit Mike Brown, because if you give the distance, it's kind of hard to figure that. But what I do think is true is that Mike Brown's back was to Darren Wilson while Darren Wilson was firing at Mike Brown. At this point, I don't think it's necessary or should be necessary that any round should have hit him from that position, because remember, Mike Brown shot himself and fearing for his life by every reasonable capacity. If it is reasonable to, if you were Mike Brown, to fear for your life, because you are the man who is unarmed, and the man who is a officer of the law is known to be the one who is armed. Um, I think the officer's statement should have been brought under more scrutiny, because where was his partner? But his partner was not there to react to anything. His partner was not there to back him up. Therefore, he had the incident happen the way it went down. Okay, I think there's enough said about that. There's a myriad of opinions out there. I myself think that Darren Wilson is guilty of all fuck. Uh, but let's talk about some other things. Now, well, Tamar Rice. Again, the the inconsistency of the statements whenever there's a shooting, and I would contend this is with every shooting that happens, the inconsistencies of the department to release certain information is reminiscent of what happens when an international incident occurs in the military. We want to keep good relations. We don't want to anger people by misconducts that is done within the organization. Therefore, you censor the kind of materials that come out. When you censor those kind of materials, you always frame it in a fashion where it is the officer that is being heroic, and the person that is so happily killed by the officer is painted as deep of a villain as it possibly can. Um, Tamar Rice. Tamar Rice has been another popular thing. The difference in this case is that he was not an adult. Um, I saw the video on that, and I got mixed emotions. I can't say whether or not, because and this is my opinion for Darren Wilson, and my opinion for all other cops that have been found guilty of killing, or not found guilty, but have been stand in line of shooting black individuals, not just black individuals, but white individuals, you understand that this is a training fail. And one of the ways you could really pinpoint that is at the speed at which these encounters happen. Remember, there were it took a little bit over a minute for the incident with Darren Wilson and Mike Brown that happened. It took a matter of seconds for the incident with Tamar and to happen. It took a matter of seconds for the John Crawford incident that happens, and I've been seeing other videos since then, and all these things happens in a matter of seconds. It's a training thing. There isn't any room for logic to kind of hit the fan. Um, now, the Tamar case, I would say that a lot of people say if I were on the scene, well, you can say that, but when your mind is made up to take a certain action before you get there, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get an incident where I put myself in the least amount of danger. I come up, I eliminate what what I discern to be a threat according to the information that I received. Again, this is not a racial thing. However, it is a very serious training fail, and actually it's a symptom of what the police force views people as. They're not citizens. They're like the military would say. They would call them enemy combatants. Um, the now I didn't really have to say much about that case there because if you were to see the video, and sometimes you like thank God for a lot of the surveillance video that is out there, and people who are trained like myself, who has at least a background in criminal justice, and pretty much how the legal system works, and pretty much how the how training has an effect on people's mindset. You'll pretty much understand what is the proper way and what is the proper context to put this in. Um, so again, another with John Crawford incident inside of Walmart, another military style execution of a person who was given a flag because, and I really think that it was less about the police department's racism and more about the racism of the guy who called it in. Which again, Florida is an open carry state. There's plenty open carry events that happen all the time, and let's face it, this country has a problem when you can see when blacks are carrying guns, and this is the mentality that I would contest was in the mind of this person that gave the phone call, where blacks would carry guns versus whites carry guns. Whites can always flee to the Second Amendment argument. Very rarely can blacks use that because of the sensitivity that circulated around in the media and other misrepresented sources like FBI statistics, which we will talk about that here since I got plenty of time to do that. So his fear of seeing a black person walking around the store with a gun prompted him to call the police, and in turn, the police did what they do: is send their death squad to death squad, not a person to negotiate. They'll negotiate if that person was violent, but if you're not violent, they'll send the death squad to get rid of you. So that's for John Crawford. Now we have all these protests in the street saying that Black Lives Matter, which it's a good enough slogan. Remember what I said earlier about the inherent racism. It's the statistics are, if you were to look on to the FBI um, crime database, and a lot of these Tea Partiers and white power supremacist people want to represent the facts in light of saying, okay, well, somehow the majority of people can be under threat by a majority of people. And actually, if you were to read the FBI statistics, it would put you in a different frame of mind rather than having the Tea Partiers and people like Fox News and Sean Hannity and yeah, I'm calling you guys out. Actually, read the statistics. Let's talk about murder. Let's talk about murder and interracial crimes. 2% of the population commit these 2%, less than 2% actually of the population commits um, interracial crimes, which means crimes carrying from blacks to whites, from whites to Asians to Mexicans to Mexicans to blacks. Um, I think it's really, and it's admittedly it's an underreported thing, but the things that you see are under scrutiny due to the fact that if they were found in the same type of they were found in the same type of environment, would the rates of crimes be different, or would they be by reasons of hate due to black people, like they say, white people wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to go and hurt somebody that doesn't look like me just because I have some particular hate spread. I would say no. However, there is instances, which is less than 2% of the time, that where it does happen. So there you go. It's just regular crime. Um, but if I were them, if they want to keep getting on this full type of reporting and fear gathering, I would really want to talk to them about drunk driving, because drunk driving is um, it's a 1 in 50 crime. Actually, if you look at it, it's a 1 in 50 crime, and 1 in 50 people is greater than the population of African Americans, committed 88% by whites. So if if that is a horn that I would that they want to get on, I would get on them about their own misbehavior first before they go in saying that it is the black people that is creating this danger inside of society. Um, I think you have what's going on, and I get to look at both of the propaganda, and I think both of the propaganda is really terrible. Admittedly, if you look at the black propaganda paints the whites as being devils, and you look at the white propaganda paints the blacks as being nothing but animals. But if you're a person like me who's been doing the research, you understand where this is coming from. All the stuff is coming from the top. It's coming from the top, and it's a mechanic to get fear in the different racial groups to keep them separate. And that is a valid thing. That is a valid thing to say, because if everybody mixes and everybody's not afraid of each other, and we become the true America, like a person like me, I am of mixed race descent. It becomes a matter of what the scientists believe is going to happen to intelligence. So they have to go this bent and kind of make people afraid and everything. I do think that the large portion of this is largely meant to create fear from the white base more than the blacks. Um, I was trying to discuss some absurdity with people, and part of that absurdity is, okay, well, you on one side you're always talking about purism, that we have to remain pure, that if we're not pure, but you look at the real statistics in the United States, all black people are white. all all black people are white in some capacity. Um, I think if you are a pure African, you are probably not slave descendant. I said it. That's right. If you're pure African, you're not a slave descendant. You, but welcome to America, and that we all get lumped in together. Okay, good. Now all that's out the way. You know, I think there's more to talk about, but I probably wore your attention span like really thin at the moment. But what's your opinion?